Pavitra. A heartiest welcome to every one of you to this important and timely webinar on From Toxins to Alternatives, Revolutionizing Tobacco Control. We are going to delve into the necessity of distinguishing between nicotine and harmful toxins in tobacco smoke. Also advocating for practical solutions like vaping snuffs to reduce smoking rates. My name is Vigya, and I am representing ACHE, Asian Coalition for Health Empowerment, as the Chief Program Coordinator. The Asian Coalition for Health Empowerment seeks to create a movement centered around raising awareness of the harm caused by different kinds of addictions. It is firmly rooted in the belief and in respecting for the rights of individuals struggling with tobacco, alcohol, drug abuse, and the silent menace of smartphone addiction. We have with Mr. R. Shankar, who is going to moderate today's webinar. And he's the senior health journalist. Over to you. Respecting for the rights of individuals struggling with
welcome
tobacco
to this important webinar. Namaskar and good afternoon, except for the exception of Mr. Zimlichman, for whom it is good morning. I am Shankar Raj, and this is the fourth episode of Health for Charcha, an initiative of the Asian Coalition for Health Empowerment in association with the Indian Medical Academy for Preventive Health. Recognizing the urgent need to address the harm caused by the use of tobacco, particularly smoking, alcohol, drugs, and the rapidly emerging smartphone or the mobile addiction, the Indian Medical Academy for Preventive Health has been actively engaged in community outreach through focused prevention and health awareness campaigns and programs. Responding to the increasing number of drug users, smokers, and alcohol consumers year after year, the Asian Coalition for Health Empowerment was established. It seeks to create a movement centered around raising awareness of the harm caused by the addictions. It is firmly rooted in the beliefs and respect for rights of individuals struggling with tobacco, alcohol, and other addiction problems. According to the World Health Organization, in 2019, around 1.3 billion people smoked tobacco. That's 17% of the global population aged 15 and above. The fourth episode is on From Toxins to Alternatives, Revolutionizing Tobacco Control. To speak more on this, we have with us eminent speakers. First, we have Professor R. Zimlichman, MD, and is the Chief of Medicine and Health of Hypertension Institute at Wolfson Medical Center, Israel, and is the Director of Cardiovascular Research Institute, Sackler Faculty of Medicine, Tel Aviv University. He's also the immediate past Vice Dean and Head of School of Continuing Education, Sackler Faculty of Medicine, Tel Aviv University. He was nominated as the Chief of Medicine in Shiva Medical Center, Tel Hoshva in 1989, and was nominated as the Associate Professor in Medicine at Tel Aviv University and later a full professor in Sackler School of Medicine in 1999. In 1991, Professor Zimlichman was nominated as Chief of Department of Medicine in Wolfson Medical Center, and in 1998 was nominated as the Chief Departments of Medicine in Wolfson Medical Center. Joining him is Dr. Mohsin Wali, a well-known figure, a senior consultant at Sir Gangaram Hospital, New Delhi. The government of India conferred him Padma Shri for his excellent services delivered to the community. He was the youngest Indian appointed as physician to the President of India. He has the distinction of serving 3 presidents of India, Sri R. Venkatraman, Sri Shankar Dayal Sharma, and Sri Pranab Mukherjee. He is credited to have introduced geriatric medicine in India. Last but not the least, we have Dr. Narendra Saini, microbiologist and a senior consultant at Saini Diagnostics. He also served as the past president of the Delhi Medical Association and the Indian Medical Association. He has received several prestigious awards, including recognition from the British Association of Physicians of Indian Origin for Health and Hygiene Awareness, and the Indian Medical Association for Distinguished Services, and Dr. P.C. Bhatia Trophy for Distinguished Services. With consistent excellence, he has been honored with the Roll of Honor of EDB IMA for 5 consecutive years. We now delve into the webinar, and first I invite Professor Zimlichman to give his presentation. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon. We are going to talk today about tobacco harm reduction in smokers. These are my disclosures. And just to start, I wanted to mention the natural history of cardiovascular disease. In the beginning, we have risk factors. Those are gene, blood pressure, lipids, smoking, obesity, activity, or lack of activity, that through mechanisms of inflammation, oxidative stress, and aging, and others, produce changes in our body, mainly in the beginning in the vasculature. The first sign of the effect is functional and not structural. The main description of that is endothelial dysfunction. In this, we cannot find any structural changes, but the behavior of the vessels is different. Generally, hyperreactivity describes well this phase. The next stage is development of structural changes in the blood vessels and the heart, and this is the main process is atherosclerosis and vascular aging. Here we can detect structural changes, and the next step is the events, myocardial infarction, angina, heart failure, etc. So let's talk about the importance of risk factors briefly. We all know the major risk factors. However, there are numerous risk factors, and until today, over 200 risk factors have been reported. Of course, our intention and purpose is to treat first the major, the heaviest risk factors, which lead as a cause of cardiovascular and other morbidity and mortality. There are several tests to perform, tests for structure, tests for function, but we are not going to go deeper in this field. Now, the risk factors can be divided to three groups. First group is treatable. Treatable risk factors are hypertension, diabetes, atrial fibrillation, cardiac disease, dyslipidemia. We have also non-modifiable risk factors in which we are very limited and we are not able to change, like age, gender, family history, ethnicity, previous event, etc. The most important are modifiable risk factors because we can intervene and improve the fate of our patient. These include smoking, obesity, diet, stress, physical inactivity, alcohol, and some others. In smoking, we know how important it is. We all understand and know that smoking kills. And cigarette smoking is important and reversible risk factor for cardiovascular disease and other diseases. However, we will discuss later how reversible this risk factor is. For instance, the incidence of myocardial infarction is increased 6-fold in women and 3-fold in men who smoke at least 20 cigarettes per day, compared to those that never smoke. The risk of MI is proportional to tobacco consumption. And this is a very important point which stresses the importance of harm reduction. If the risk is proportional to the amount of the toxic and carcinogenic substances, if we decrease the exposure, we reduce harm. Now, for example, one of many studies, the Interheart study, showed that smoking accounted for 36% for the population attributable risk of first myocardial infarction. This is a publication by WHO in 2016, showing us the heaviness of various risk factors. And we can see that after hypertension, tobacco is a very heavy leading risk factor that causes morbidity and mortality. The numbers below are attributable death to the selected risk factors in thousands. This is one study of many which shows us that life expectancy of smokers, they lost 10 years of smoking induced by the damage of smoking. Losing weight decreases mortality also, and life expectancy is improved. However, it's less prominent, less heavy than cigarette smoking.
Excuse me, Professor, is this from your PPT? Because we can't see your PPT.
You don't see me?
No, we see you, but is this a PowerPoint presentation that you're reading from?
Excuse me, can you repeat?
Is it a PowerPoint presentation from which you're reading, or you are yet to come to the PowerPoint presentation?
No, it's my presentation on PowerPoint.
But we can't see the PowerPoint. No, we can't see the PowerPoint.
Wow. I am sorry.
Can you please share the presentation as we tested,
Yeah.
Professor Zimmerman? Can you share your presentation so that all of us can see it?
I share it, and
just click
see
on
it?
Share screen. Share the screen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you see me now?
Yes. Now we see it.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry. You should have told me before.
No, I thought that
You
was
want
the
me
introduction. That's okay. Now you're on the 10th slide. Yes.
So shall I start from the beginning or
No, you can start from the 10th onwards. No problem. You can continue with smoking cessation.
Okay. So the importance of smoking cessation will be seen in the next slides. Okay, so how important is cessation of smoking? We now have data showing that the risk of recurrent infarction in smokers who had myocardial infarction fell down by 50% within 1 year of smoking cessation, and it normalized to that of non-smokers within 2 years. So there is a lot to win, even if stopping the smoking is late. However, it is very interesting to see that people do not tend to smoke, even after a major event. We know that 49% of smokers diagnosed with coronary artery disease continue to smoke. 57% of smokers continue to smoke after a stroke. And 72% of smokers diagnosed with peripheral artery disease continue to smoke. So strangely, after having a severe event, people in the beginning, usually I see it with my patients, when I see them in the intensive care unit after myocardial infarction, they all swear they will not touch a cigarette again. However, this picture gradually changes. After a month, some of them return to smoke, and after longer period of time, huge amounts return to smoke. So it's an addiction that is very, very difficult to stop, even if they had a major event. Now, this is a very important slide, again, published several years ago, that shows developed Western European countries. Each country is a line, each country is a color, and we see the red winner, quote unquote, in this graph is Belgium, with the highest mortality of cardiovascular disease. And we can see that until the year 2000, there was a beautiful decrease in cardiovascular mortality in all countries, in some more and in some less. However, from the year 2000 and on, for the next 20 years, hardly progress was done. So there is no further decrease. We have explanation for that, because for many years we explained to smokers that they should stop smoking. So who was able, the one that was able to stop smoking already did it. And we remain with the hardcore of smokers that are not able to stop smoking. Similarly, with obese patients, with inactive patients, with patients consuming alcohol, etc. Those that were able to stop did it already. And what we are rest with is those that are the hardcore of addicted to various parameters. So this means we need to change the way of thinking. We need something new in order to continue decreasing mortality of cardiovascular risk factors. Now, harm reduction. It might be problematic for several physicians because our purpose as physicians is harm elimination. We want our patients to stop smoking, to stop drinking, to start having a healthy diet, to lose weight, etc., etc. However, if it is impossible, shall we compromise? And harm reduction means we want to reduce the harm. We are aware to the limitations of the patient and his ability to improve his behavior and way of life. And then we can ask, is harm reduction ethical? Are we allowed to advise reduced harm? Will harm reduction be beneficial? And is it ethical to compromise and allow our patients to smoke less, drink less, eat less, however, still doing the bad things in a lower amount? We are aware to the fact that in the field of smoking, we have in the world over 1 billion of smokers, and this is a steady state. This number did not change for the last year, and it doesn't look that it is going to change unless we develop new approaches to reduce this major harming factor. So, several replacements for harm for smokers are seen in this table. Here in the graph, we see the risk of various devices that we can use in order to lower and reduce harm. On the extreme left, you see the 100%. This is the conventional cigarette, and various tobacco products are on this graph, showing the heaviness of morbidity and mortality and risk in various preparations. Now, one area of development is the smokeless devices, because we know that smoking burns tobacco and creates toxic substances and carcinogenic substances. So several devices were developed in which the tobacco is heated only, but not burned. And we can see this dash line that separates the combustible devices and no combustion in the newly developed devices. We can see, for instance, the snus is in the middle of the no combustion area. I don't know if you see my marker. However, it is considerably low. And of course, if we want to reduce harm, we should try to use those on the right side of the slide, the devices that reduce harm significantly. Now here we have a division of several new developments to assist in harm reduction. On the extreme left is the snus. In the middle, you see the e-cigarettes and the heated tobacco products on the right. There are many types, many manufacturers. They are not equal in safety and validation, and they should be carefully evaluated, all of them. I just wanted to say a few words about the snus. The snus is a paste that contains nicotine only, and the user is putting some of this paste. It's in the consistency similar to the toothpaste, with his finger on the gums, and the nicotine is absorbed. This device, or this replacement, was approved and adopted by Swedish government in Sweden 20 years ago. So this is a beautiful experiment that we can see a country that switched or convinced the smokers to switch to snus instead of the conventional cigarette. And what are the results? This on the right is a death rate attributable to tobacco and all causes of death in men 30 years and older. And you can see the upper red line is the mean value, mean percentage in Europe. The lowest there, the red line in the bottom of the slide, is Sweden. So Sweden has the lowest today, after 20 years after switching from conventional cigarettes to the snus, has the lowest mortality in Europe. It has the lowest rate of lung cancer in Europe, and it leads and is the best in all European countries. For comparing to Hungary, which leads, quote unquote, with 700, in Sweden, mortality is 152. So this is a considerable improvement, significant decrease, and a proof that switching from the conventional cigarette to harm reduction device is important, is feasible, and will bring us a lot of decrease in cardiovascular mortality and morbidity. This is a study performed in the US showing the heat and not burn device that was tested by an objective laboratory, showing that the full 100% bar is the amount of toxins specified below in conventional cigarette, and the dark red is in the heat and not burn device amount of the same substance. So we can see that there is a considerable decrease of up to 95%, 90 to 95% in various toxic substances if you switch from a cigarette to a heat and non-burn device. Now, this is very similar to what we have seen in Sweden by switching to the snus. This is another study performed in Germany, and again, heat and non-burn device evaluated, and similar results were seen also in this study. What is happening now in the world? Many countries refuse to do changes. They insist of harm elimination and not harm reduction. But slowly things change. The first country that adopted the concept was Japan. They introduced and enforced, not enforced, but assisted in switching from conventional cigarette to heat and non-burn device, and the results already that are seen there are beautiful decrease in number of smokers, decrease in lung cancer, decrease in COPD, and we start to see big data coming from there. The next country that adopted the method is the UK. They supported vaping as a method that allows smokers to quit smoking and allowed usage of all harm reduction devices supporting the switchers and even compensating them for the switch, because and they have some information published recently showing that the burden of medical services is lower, the lines are shorter, waiting times for various tests are lower, and also they started to calculate how much money they save in the medical systems. In the USA, there is also a shift, and the FDA approach is to evaluate new devices, to make sure that they are really what they promise, to evaluate safety, to evaluate benefits, and they are starting to behave or to relate in a scientific way to harm reduction devices authorization. Other countries like Greece, Cyprus established committees that evaluate the new data and will soon submit their conclusions. So what we have to do in our future attitude, we need education for optimal lifestyle from early childhood, because it is very, very difficult to convince a 70-year-old subject to change his lifestyle. It is very, very efficient in a child in the kindergarten, in the elementary school, in the high school, and even universities. Those can still change easier their lifestyle. We have to stress that smoking cessation is by far the best option for any smoker. However, if those are not able to stop, we should use maximally all possible harm reduction abilities. We need for that government adoption, support, research, implementation, and open mind to promote and adapt various harm reduction. A very important thing is how we can be sure that these replacements or harm reduction devices will not arrive to the wrong audience. We are not interested to introduce them to young people that are not addicted smokers. This is very important. So we probably have to limit the age in which a guy is able to buy a device. This should be limited. This should be also explained in campaigns that those devices are only for addicts, quote unquote. I think that one of the concepts that should be stressed, I finish in a minute, is that nicotine is not causing harm. Nicotine is a substance that is bound to autonomic nervous system receptors and activates them. It is very, very similar to caffeine, and the effect of nicotine of one cigarette is very similar to the effect of caffeine in 1 cup of coffee in the morning. No damage, psychologically some effect, and also chemically some effect. However, nicotine is addictive. So if somebody smokes, he becomes addicted to nicotine, and he has to get his dose of nicotine every day. Now, today, it has a price. The price is that in order to get the amount of nicotine, he needs to get also big amount of toxic and carcinogenic substances produced during smoking, during burning of the tobacco. And the harm reduction concept in all methods and all devices aims to dissociate these two components. Nicotine will be supplied. However, carcinogens and toxic substances will be supplied in a minimal, close to zero level. And this is the basic concept that we have to discuss in the future and also today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Zimlichman. That was an excellent presentation. I think you took through what's happening in Europe. I just have one question. I just wanted to ask you, what is the situation in Israel in your country?
Let's say we are not among the leading countries which were on my slide. I think we have to improve much. We have some legislative limitations, and we have political issues, and those things are proceeding very, very slowly. But I believe that after many countries will adopt the concept, UK, Sweden, Japan, and many countries are moving toward change in the approach to harm reduction, every country will have no choice but to join the right process.
One small question. In your presentation, you said that Sweden was highly successful for the past 20 years, through SNES and other things. But we have another country in Europe, Hungary, which is very adamant and it is leading the graph. Why is there a difference? What difference did Sweden do compared to Hungary?
In Sweden, they made more than 20 years ago, they made a brave decision. The government decided to fight smoking, and they approved the snus as an alternative according to recommendation of scientists. So this was a brave government that made the first move in the world. Before that, they had no evidence that what happened will happen, but we see the results. So, for instance, if Hungary would adopt this concept 20 years ago, the picture, I believe, would be similar.
Yeah, I think what is most important from your presentation is that there must be a governmental will also to implement such things. I think that is the starting point. And next is education. I think these two factors are very important in cutting addiction, which, as you said, is very difficult to control. We move on. We have an important presentation from Dr. Wali also. But before the presentation of Dr. Wali, I request Vigya Roy to ask a few questions to Dr. Saini, and then I'll come back to you, Professor Wali.
Sure. Yes, Dr. Saini. Okay, so in an era of information overload, how can the medical community actively combat misinformation surrounding tobacco alternatives and ensure that the public receives accurate and evidence-based information? Dr. Saini.
Yeah, very right question asked. How this information should disseminate to people. If you see the presentation of Robin also, from 2000 onwards, we find that the changes have not occurred. Whatever the smoking cessation happened only up to 2000, after that the level has gone. So we have not innovated in talking to people how to see what is the harm in this. So I say not awareness. The medical community has a role to play on a behavior change also. Secondly, medical community has a role to play, not only merely giving drugs, talking about different alternative methods, but to have a counseling session with people, merely talking to them, saying that these are the alternatives. But these alternatives are also, which rightly pointed by Dr. Rovin, that they are also addictive. This nicotine is addictive. Whatever alternatives you are bringing, that alternative was also having nicotine, and nicotine is addictive. And when coffee is having a caffeine, but that is not addictive. So addictive means I keep on increasing my dose. If today I have taken one puff of a alternative, tomorrow I will take 3 or 4 times that, because now I'm craving for it. Nicotine causes you craving. So medical community has an important role to play, not only in terms of a webinar or in terms of imparting education on the social media, but interaction. Physical interactions are also very important, and that Indian Medical Association has taken steps that we goes to schools, we goes to colleges, as has also been pointed out, that the right approach is reaching to the student, to the school community, because here if we give a right education, they will not come to these pressures. And secondly, the medical community is also reaching to the stars. If you see, this tobacco industry is very rich and very influential. The politicians, the star, they whom we always follow, the film star, we try to follow them, and if they are being shown consuming tobacco, we are getting attracted. Our youth get attracted towards. If these stars can use it, then why not? So it is a star kind of an ego to them. So medical community is reaching to these influential people, also the film star and others, that please do not advertise those things. And so in this era, I think both, coming to your questions, both are needed, that we should give education on social media, but at the same time having physical sessions also, because unless and until we physically interact with them, the things will not change. Otherwise, I will keep on having more alternatives which are there, but I will be consuming more of that, because that study is still to be done. It is just 20 years Sweden has done. We have not done a study that how much after this it will increase, because after all, it is addiction is there with alternative also. So maybe this after 20 years, again, that which the curve has been shown at 2000, it has become stagnant. This will may increase if that kind of behavior change do not occur to them, that we have to stop smoking. So we have to bring change.
So along with introducing the alternatives, counseling and guidance is also needed, much needed.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Saini. Yeah. I'm moving on. I think we give the stage to Dr. Wali now, and
I'll take over. I'll just take over, and then I'll just intervene in between what Dr. Saini said and Professor Zimlichman said. Do you really see that Sweden will go up a bit after another 20 years, because as he pointed out, the addictiveness will still remain? What's your take on this, Dr. Zimlichman?
Oh, can you repeat? I thought that you're talking to
Dr. Saini raised an important issue, saying that, you have a 20-year study now, but in the next 20 years, probably that addictive part of this will still remain. The addictive part of it will still remain. So you might see a curve going up after some time, because snus also is there, and that is also addictive. Do you foresee that happening?
No, I don't think so, because first of all, this process would happen. We would have seen it much earlier, and we didn't see it. And the numbers that we see in Sweden are really impressive. Let's say, according to the definition of WHO of a non-smoking country, non-smoking country is a country with less than 5% of smokers. Sweden now is 5.9% of smokers, and this is going to be probably within a year or two the first country in the world to be defined as a non-smoking country. So I think this is a beautiful proof of harm reduction, replacement, supplying nicotine which causes no damage without all the carcinogens and toxins. Now, I just wanted to add briefly to Dr. Saini's topic that was just answered. I think that one of the most important things is legislation and supervision of governments. Because we hear in the internet, in the news, about cases of death using vaping, e-cigarettes, several cases in the US, and this frightens many people from switching to a healthier option. Now, those cases of death were investigated. And in all of those cases, the vaping was done by using open devices. Open devices, it means that the user can add chemical substances to the fluid in the e-cigarette. And most of them were adding medications, drugs, and unsafe components, which were shown to be the cause of death, and not the innocent solution of fluid and nicotine, which doesn't do any harm except of the addiction aspect that we mentioned. So all devices should be tested and approved by an authority that we rely on. It is very important for public health. It is very important also for convincing people to smoke, so to stop smoking. So this is essential, and we need help of the governments in order to prevent of bad things to be distributed. You know, we can buy by mail in AliExpress 100 e-cigarettes for $10. Nobody knows what is in it, whether it was tested for toxins, evaluated, maybe the diluent, the oily substance that dilutes the nicotine is a toxic substance, and such cases were described. So we have to make sure many things, but this is one of the most important aspects that will ensure the safety of the users. It is very, very important.
I just want to add, if you allow me, sir.
Yeah.
I just want to add into it. If you see the chart also, which Dr. Rovin has given, is only the Sweden which has done it. The USA, which is having a very robust mechanism of a health system, even those people are not able to do it. They started with vape and other things. England started with vape and other things, but rather it has increased the tobacco consumption there, because vape, they said, it is alternative, and that alternative become now addictive. So we have to study very carefully now the Sweden system, what they have done. And secondly, a system like in India, if I talk about India, is very difficult to put a ban, because it is a 6,000 years old tradition which is happening in our society. Putting a ban is not an alternative in our country, and that system is not even robust in our country, monitoring of that mechanism. So only alternative left is bringing a education, a behavior change, and the role of medical community when the people want to come to cessation. What kind of the counseling has to be given, what kind of medicines they have to be given. Otherwise, in India especially, bringing an alternative will be another kind of a system where the alternative become a addiction.
Yes, I completely agree. And in India, it's a very peculiar situation, because anything that you ban will come back with a redoubled effect. I think that is a major concern in India. Now we have an important presentation by Dr. Mohsin Wali, and then now, sir, the floor is yours. Please give your presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Shankar. I'm already very enlightened to hear the speakers and your QA session. And I just want to confirm, is my screen, my presentation visible on your screen?
Not now. Yet. Not yet. We can see you. We can see you, not the presentation.
Oh. So I'll have to do it. In the meantime, I thank you, the Asian Coalition of Health Empowerment and Indian Medical Academy, for putting me through this very important discussion on toxins to alternative, revolutionizing the tobacco control. I would stress this: today's discussion and all the presentations are for everyone. Those who are smokers, those who want to get rid of smoke, those who want to counsel them for smoke, and those who are totally away from smoking habit, but yet they are passively smoking. So let me take a minute to get on your platform. It's Zoom here. And I'm opting for share screen. It should go to you now. And very enlightening things.
Yes, now the screen is visible. Yes.
Yes, so it's okay?
Yeah.
So you have seen us. This is another thing which is happening in poor countries, our countries, India, like third world countries, which we probably have to discuss along with the smoke, the kind of smoke which comes with nicotine package. So this is beyond the scope of today's talk, but just to sensitize what else we are smoking. And this is what we have discussed very nicely. And the main culprit is nicotine. And other culprits, as the audience would like to know, are tar, arsenic, carbon monoxide, and there are more than 4,000, including acetone, ammonia, and so on. So it's a matter of grave concern for our lungs, for our heart, for our brain. So another form which we are seeing now in youngsters who remain in
Dr. Wally, we're not able to hear you. Dr. Wally? Vidya, are you able to contact him?
I will just.
I think he's not aware. Meanwhile, I'll just ask Professor Zimlichman, is passive smoking also very dangerous?
Of course. As I showed in one of my slides, the damage is proportional to the exposure. So it depends how many cigarettes per day you smoke, how many years you smoke. If you multiply the number, you receive a number which is proportional to the damage. Now, passive smoking, using this principle, is also dangerous, and it depends upon the concentration of the toxins and carcinogens in the air that is inhaled in the vicinity of a smoker. So passive smoking is also dangerous. It should be avoided, especially in young children. And the amount of damage depends upon the amount of toxic substances inhaled.
Dr. Wally is back now, yes.
Sorry, this happens more frequently here in Delhi, especially in the afternoon time. They switch from one power supply to the other. So like we are asking people to switch from cigarette smoking to less harmful smokes. So
I was only praying that these things don't go up in smoke, and then I'm glad that you come back.
Yes.
Yes.
So what we have to educate the people that addiction is an inability to stop your substance, or when you are engaged in such a behavior, it does a physical harm. People just say, I'm smoking, so what? So we are doing a harm, and what we are talking today is harm reduction. So we have been discussing, courtesy provoked by Professor Ruven Zimlichman's last visit when he spoke at All India Institute of Medical Sciences. And we have discussed in the meantime at various seminars about mobile addiction, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, and so on. So it is one of the leading causes of death, and the heart disease stops in that. Lung cancer has become again, and COPD has become again very, very important cause of mortality along with the stroke, and it generates diabetes too and some accidents. So the smoking wraps our heart totally, involving the larger arteries and the smaller arteries, and this smoke kills. Even the larger arteries are affected. And we have been seeing sudden deaths these days. And if I am permitted to show today's paper, this young man, Shreyas Talpade, young man, he is singer and actor. He was hospitalized and he had a cardiac event. And at the second page, I have a young lady who is smoking cigar. This lady is smoking cigar. Yes, here. I will bring it close. So in one newspaper, and in the yesterday's news, we have heard that Pedro, who was a gospel singer, Pedro Henrique, he suddenly dies during performance. The Turkey's parliamentarian Hassan also dies after an emotional speech. So what happens to these gentlemen is sudden cardiac death, which is different from a heart attack. This is a normally beating heart. You can see the arteries, 3 arteries, right and left, branches of the left. And this is beating at a pace which gets disturbed suddenly due to something happening in the body. And this disturbed pace leads to ventricular tachycardia. And this beats like this. And this does not give chance to coronary arteries to fill the heart muscle and causes insult to the vessels, and it doesn't give us time to move the patient to the hospital. While the classical heart attack, which is due to a plaque, gives us time to rush the patient to do the angioplasty and, of course, bypass later. So these are the two mechanisms which everyone needs to stand. So my strategies, which I would just enumerate, is first of all, heart health essentials, in which we have to know about sugar, blood pressure, ideal weight, exercise, our waist ratio, and cardiovascular status. I was seeing this interesting picture the other day, and this shows us what is the truth. And we certainly omit this truth. And this is the basic thing which is happening in our bodies. And this happens so gradually that Professor Zimlichman, which is highlighted, that we forget to take this in cognizance, and the worst kind of damage by the smoke or nicotine takes place in this situation. So our Prime Minister has recently introduced the diet programs which incorporate the raw grains, what we call shirian in India, and these are millets, and this was served to one of his dinners in the United States. So coming back to heart basics, heart disease, which I'm supposed to talk a little bit. Of course, Dr. Zimlichman has covered the harms. So heart disease basically is a group of conditions affecting heart muscles, causing chest pain, heart attack, and sudden stopping of the heart, leading to myocardial infarction. So we have to know basically what our Dr. Sani was telling, that everybody has to know the risk for the heart disease and stroke, manage your blood pressure efficiently, manage your cholesterol, and the classic blood pressure readings, which if the student tells in a case in examination, we doubt. This is the ideal blood pressure, systolic and diastolic, the amount of the pressure which the heart generates during systole, that is contraction, and the heart has while it relaxes. So ultimately, the cholesterol is the main culprit. So cholesterol gradually deposits on the heart endothelium. This is the damage which nicotine or smoke actually produces to the heart vessel. And as in the beginning of the talk, Professor Zimlichman emphasized that this is the damage which occurs to the inside lining of the heart, which is an oxidative stress, or later on generates a cholesterol plaque and causes heart attack. We lost Damar Hamlin, and another mechanism other than this blockage was that his chest was hit. And despite having best facilities, Damar Hamlin could not be saved in the field. He fell down, and he was lifted, but he again fell down. This was in Cincinnati, as you heard, and everything was available: life pack, ambulance, and was rushed to hospital, declared dead, could not be saved. So what happens to the heart if we see that we have to maintain blood pressure, we have to maintain a good heart rate, we have to be at the lowest risk
Dr. Willie, I think we've lost you once again.
Yes, I think we have lost. I think there's a problem with the internet for him.
Yeah, it looks like.
Yes.
Decision. Yeah. I think we'll continue with, I'll ask another question to Dr. Saini. Dr. Saini, are you there? Dr.
Yes,
Saini?
sir. Yeah, please.
Sir, I would just like to ask you, is there any state in India which has been successful in implementing to some extent, control of smoking?
As such, I don't have that data, but every state is trying to do, but not able to do so. I can, Gujarat to some extent, I can say, because that system is robust. Some kind of law and order is much more there. But otherwise, I think India needs a lot of efforts in that direction. As I said, we all have to sit together, find a policy on the school level. Then at college level, we have to go around. And then I think the backup is very important. Because unless and until, like I go to a school, why? I need all the books. You have all the information in the net that you switch over to web, you switch over to other system like snus or snuff or D form of a tobacco, they are causing less. But unless and until that counseling session is not there, unless and more clinics for tobacco cessations are not there, where I am free to talk, because even if when I am a tobacco addict and I switch over to a lesser form of a nicotine level, I still have withdrawal symptoms because I'm switching drastically to lower level. At that point, I need some kind of a hand holding, which is very important. So we have to go and we have to study the Sweden system also, that how they have become successful. Only then we can say that we have a good policy.
Yeah. Dr. Wali is back. I think we'll continue with this presentation. Yes, sir.
I'm extremely sorry for. I have yesterday paid my bill amounting to 36,000 of electricity, and this is the supply which we are getting in return. Sorry about that. So what I was talking that we should stick to basics: cholesterol, blood pressure, good cholesterol and bad cholesterol for everybody to understand. I will put in a short acronym. L is for bad cholesterol, which is lousy, and H for healthy cholesterol, which is healthy, that is HDL. So we stop testing here. My emphasis is always test the lipoproteins which carry these cholesterol. Now, behaviors that contribute to wellness are: be physically active, choose a healthy diet, maintain a healthy body weight, manage stress, avoid tobacco and drug use, and limit alcohol consumption, and protect yourself from disease and injury. Now, as Professor Zimlichman was highlighting, there are some non-modifiable risk factors like age, gender, ethnicity, family history, and sleep apnea. Of course, we can treat sleep apnea now. There are emphasis is put on modifiable risk factors like diet, beverage consumption, salt intake, physical activity, stress. I should put smoking at the top, and medication. This is our Indian scenario of having active policemen. Even they put on weight, and they, due to their behavior incapacity or not being educated properly, they develop obesity. So obesity plus no exercise produces a summation of damage, and that is what our young generation, part of young generation, are going through. Now, we have advances in reducing the deaths due to sudden cardiac events, and this is one of the very important video, which is quite old. Yes, as the Sweden's program 20 years back, these countries have started dealing with sudden cardiac death. I hope it is audible also.
No, we don't.
This is a girl who lost father.
Okay.
I think if you can narrate, Dr. Wali, because we can't.
You can give a running commentary.
Okay. So showing this means that we can save lives by reaching for the help And this is another video which promotes Indian methods, Indian garments, Indian sense of dressing, and Indian song. And Meryl Davis and Charlie White, they performed ice skating. I will skip this video, but the message, important message this video gives, that what our country has been following was correct for health. And then I would wish everybody, because we are short of time, I have to cut down here. I wish Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashyituk Bhagvet. Let everybody be healthy, happy, and free from disease, and their life should be positive. Mangalmay means everything should be positive and happy, and nobody should bear the brunt of the disease. And this is my prayer for today and forever. And thank you once again for allowing me this. And I have a good news that India in Gujarat has started manufacturing and marketing the isnus, which Professor Zimlichman is very fond of and has shown worldwide results. And we in India fortunately have that with the name of Chiva. That's all I wanted to say, and I would wait for Dr. Sani to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Wali.
Thank you.
I just have a question to you, Doctor. The underlying factor of Dr. Professor Zimlichman's speech and also Dr. Sani is that it's very difficult to control addiction. Addiction is a major problem. Now, addiction is a complex and chronic condition that affects the brain and behavior of individuals, causing them to compulsively seek and use substances or engage in activities that are harmful to themselves and others. So, can we call addiction to tobacco and smoking as even a disease of the brain?
Yes, it's a pathological condition. People have their personality traits. People have no love for their money. I still give example of taking notes and making a cigarette out of a note and asking people if he can put fire to this note. Nobody would say yes. And everybody smokes millions of rupees like this. So I have seen, unless you try to find out, as Dr. Seni said, in counseling, the person comes out and says, why does he drink? Why does he smoke? Why he is so crazy about his smoking? You will find out reasons. And unless you address those reasons, it is, I would say, not possible to bring him out of this addiction. The past, we had seen snakebite people who were, after they were used to every kind of smoking, alcohol, drugs, nothing works them, nothing gave them pleasure, they resorted to snakebite. This was a big news, and I have the last slide showing that. And they have given a name to these people, just I would tell. And these are psychonauts. So your question answers with this name. If I'm not sure whether you're seeing this slide. Psychonaut is a person who likes to behave like getting a kiss from a snake, getting addicted to that extreme form of addiction. Dr. Narendra Seni wants to say something. And this is what you said. We have to see behind, look into his brain and what is the cause of this kind of addiction. We have to address to that very, very efficiently. Otherwise, these all exercises fail.
Yes, Dr. Sani.
Yeah, I think Dr. Wali has said very correctly, but I have one addition to that. I will not say to start with it's a pathological condition. It is a behavior conditions. Because I get attracted or my youth get attracted because they think it is fashionable. But yes, it become pathological. Pathological means addictive. That is the brain, which is telling me to take this. But starting tobacco is not pathological. It is a behavior. It is how the society react to it, or how I see in the society, how attractive I become, I get towards that tobacco. That is an issue which we have to first ponder over and find out the solution for our youth and for children, which is rightly pointed out, the education which is must at a very lower level. then it becomes pathological once you get into it.
Yeah. I'll just come back with one more question to Dr. Zimlichman and one question to both of you. Professor Zimlichman, in your presentation, you had said, if I'm right, that chewing tobacco is fine. Did you say that? It could reduce probably the harms of smoking?
Of course, the best is not to be in contact with any nicotine product. However, chewing tobacco is not involved in burning of tobacco. So it means that the user does not ingest toxic substances and carcinogens created during burning of tobacco. So this is a safer way to lower harm and to improve the outcomes. So this is a recommended approach to switch from a conventional cigarette to chewing tobacco. It's healthier. Of course, the healthiest is not to use anything. However, if you have to use, you reduce your harm by any of the devices there. Although chewing tobacco is involved with some information about cancer of the oral cancer, etc., etc. But if you consider the numbers of oral cancer comparing to lung cancer, this is almost negligible.
Yeah, but I think in India, we have a huge amount of data that shows that chewing tobacco can lead to a lot of cancer. Because
I just intervene, sir.
Yes.
I don't agree for an Indian context.
Yes.
When we say healthier, we have a data from tobacco. There's a lot of information out there. So we said convert into smokeless tobacco because very rightly that it at least the secondary smoking is not there. But if you see the data, it has increased gutka, which is a chewing tobacco only. The industry has increased tremendously. I think even the smokers who were smoking at that moment of time, it has done 100 times more with the chewing tobacco. So predicting that it is less harmful or something, it makes people as if, okay, I go into that. Even the people who were not smoking, they get attracted towards it. And as I said in the beginning also, the people whom we follow, the stars, they attract the stars and other things. If they can smoke, I also feel, even if I'm not a smoker, that I also feel that yes, it is an in thing because it is less harmful. I can chew tobacco. So anything which is coming into market as alternative, it has to be done with a question mark. How we have to, I think, tell the public that it is not useful. It is only for those who are taking tobacco, and it is a first step towards them of a cessation of a tobacco, rather than just saying that it's less harmful. So it attracts more number of people.
Yeah, I think gutka is becoming a major problem. What do you say, Dr. Wali?
Very right. Gutka is, you see, people misuse eating gutka. They allow the contact time very greatly. They sleep with gutka in the mouth, and that is a form of continuous irritation. And the contents of gutka vary. They made a tailor-made version with more tuna and all that. Gutka must be a new word to Professor Zimlichman. And gutka means is a combination of more harmful stuff like adding calcium carbonate in a nascent form, which irritates the mucous membrane of the mouth. So definitely there are warnings on the packets of tobacco. I have arranged one to show that the ministry has ordered a stern warning on tobacco packets and smoking packets, cigarette packets. So these are harmful products, and this is such a dependence which a person is very difficult to convince. People come to me with 3 vessel disease. My assistant is sitting next to me and is smiling, and they are getting stents done. With 3 stents, person comes and says, I'm still smoking. When we provoke this question, he is not scared of death. So we have to put some element of scare also while doing counsel to the people who are of certain age. And with love and affection. What is missing today? Let me again tell my point of view. The children who are growing like bushes in the households, who have no love from the parents. The mother is working, father is working, they come and sleep to their room, they don't meet except weekends or sometimes even not. They are having a kind of personality in which they take help of these methods of smoking and drinking and so on. So we have to really be kind to our children, be kind to our generations, especially to younger generation. I know about Israel that the person, when he gets a child, the couple, when couple gets a child, they start training not after the child is born, but they start training the mother when the child is in utero. So that kind of empathy and that kind of concern our society needs.
Yeah, when you spoke of fearlessness, I was just reminded of what Mark Twain had said earlier. He had defined cigarette as fire at one end and fool at another. But I think here it is fire at one end and death at another. I think that's what
exactly.
I will now conclude this, with a closing remark from all of you. Starting with Professor Zimlichman, just an overview of what you said, and we'll conclude. A statement from you, a statement from Professor Dr. Wali, and a statement from Dr. Sani. Yes, Professor Zimlichman, a statement from you.
Okay, I think that I mentioned already that we have about 1 billion smokers in the world, and this number did not change for the last years. It probably is not going to change unless we have some action in this field. Now, in the past, a patient came to the doctor and he told him, I told you to stop smoking. Did you succeed? No, I did not. Okay, so what was the reply? Not the same words, but it was equivalent to, okay, go home and die. We have no solutions for you unless you stop smoking. And he has already shown that he's not able to do that. The approach now changes all over the world gradually. And now, when he comes and he says, I am not able to stop smoking, okay, let's try harm reduction device. Now, there is a lot of dispute about harm reduction devices. There are bad devices, good devices, and all the world needs standardization done not by the manufacturers, but by governments that will choose the safest devices, the best in harm reduction and no damage. Now, this 1 billion people, many of them die every year. And we are seeing now change in the world. I have shown the slide showing Sweden, Japan, UK, some other countries. However, changes in countries take time. And it takes a lot of time. It may be involved with politics, economy, etc., interests. And we do not have that time. Because if, for instance, India is now going to think or form an approach, a new approach, taking into account all the new advances, if the decision of using harm reduction devices will be postponed by 1 year, it will cost lives of millions of people that continue to smoke, will have diseases, will die, will have crowding of and the increasing expenses of the medical services, etc., etc. So these things should be done now and as fast as possible. It should be objective. It should be done by governments, by experts, and not by interests. However, every delay costs millions of people's lives all over the world. So we have to act fast.
Yes, Dr. Wali.
Yes, habits die hard, sir. And therefore, my view is to catch the children young when they are indulged in such habits, including smoking. Educate compulsorily at the school level because they listen to their teachers, their peers. Control their funding. They should not get a free hand to the money to buy all these stuff like cigarettes, alcohol, and everything. And audit their daily routine, what they have been doing of the money they have got, and what they are doing about their time they have got. And of course, if we attack them young and schools operate, and then we have at the country level political will, probably we can reduce this menace. Because previously, when I was a student in medicine, we were taught stop smoking is the answer. Now we say you can't stop smoking. 1 billion is not changing. And there are others, as I spoke in my talk, they are harmed by smokers. So this talk is addressed to the whole world adults and whole world population, that smoking is injurious to everyone who smoke and who do not smoke.
Yes, Dr. Sani.
I think everybody has spoken, so I'm the last batsman. Tobacco kills. 1 billion people are smoking today. And in that 1 billion, maximum in India, China, and Indonesia. So we have to do something on that. One, which everybody is saying and echo the same thing, catch them young. Since it is a large thing, as I said earlier also, no ban can do anything on this. It has to be a behavior change where government alone cannot do. We as a society, we as a medical community, we as NGO, all have to work together, which is an old saying, together we always win. I think that is the motto for which we have to work together. And people who have gone to this extent of taking tobacco, we all have to bring them into fold, educate them, and bring a behavior change in them. So
thank you. I think like in all cricket matches, many of us depend on the last batsman for a win, that is exactly.
Before that, I wish every one of you and everyone who is attending this seminar and everyone a very happy Christmas and a very happy New Year. So Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all.
To all of us. Yeah.
And I'll just conclude with one line saying that, the basic underlying factor of this particular webinar was that basically there should be education, number one. Number two, there should be an amount of political will. And number three, go in for harm reduction. I think these are the three phases in which probably we can try out certain methods and probably we might have some results. Thank you very much. And now I hand over to Vigya Roy for her concluding remarks and ending the session. And it was very productive, and I think we can carry it forward. This was the fourth session. Thank you. Yes, Vigya. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
No, we don't.
Am I audible?
Yes, now.
Okay, sorry. So we sincerely appreciate the time all of you took out of your busy schedule and join us and enlighten us with your insightful presentation and wealth of knowledge on today's webinar. It has been truly enriching for all of us who have joined us online and live. Thank you for sharing this valuable information with all of us and the audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And good day to you and Happy New Year to all of you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.